topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Arizona. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we, for the last 16 years, have brought you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, our first show this afternoon is a health show, and probably I have learned this is such an important area, and the reason why it's such an important area is there's so many people walking around with nephrology that don't know what they have. They just know they've got a problem. And what we're going to do on this show is not only educate you on this problem, but really educate you on how you can be treated. We have the greatest expert in Dr. Patrick Sars. Um, he has been treating nephrology for such a long time. And I got to tell you, I've learned so much from him. But mostly, though, I feel so sorry for people who are suffering from neuropathy. And let me introduce you to the greatest expert. You know, we did this show for Phoenix, but we're getting people from all over Arizona. I've got to introduce you probably to the best specialist when it comes to neuropathy, Dr. Patrick Sars. Good afternoon, Dr. Sars.
Good afternoon, Steve.
I have learned so much about neuropathy from you, and I feel so sorry for people who are suffering. Not only that they're suffering, but they don't even know what they have. And we found out some of their doctors don't even understand, but you understand neuropathy. Tell people about your practice.
Well, my practice basically, I've been in practice in the Mesa Chandler area for 39 years. Geez, time goes fast. But I've been treating neuropathy for the last 17 years. That neuropathy basically is a secondary disease process. And what I mean by that is it is caused by something else. It kind of the easiest way to think of it maybe is as a symptom of something else that's going on in your body. Most people think of it basically as being an effect of diabetes, but diabetics actually only make up about 30% of the people that actually have neuropathy. 70% of the time it is from something else. According to the Mayo Clinic up in Scottsdale, that they say there's up to 200 different things that can actually cause neuropathy. This is what makes it so difficult. But it affects basically the sensory nerves, primarily at the skin level, primarily normally in the feet. Sometimes it'll start in the hands, but it'll cause those cells to actually, at the ends of the nerves, to actually die off, go deeper into the tissue, and then they start to fire on their own. Initially, you might feel numbness, maybe in one foot, but as time goes along, it becomes a little bit more painful, that you can start to develop sharp shooting pains, burning, sensations of cold, and then it'll migrate into the other foot. Sometimes it'll start in a hand. Most of the time it'll start unilaterally on one side, but it will go in to the other side, and then it actually becomes pretty profound, and it can actually get to the point where it can be quite debilitating. That my mother ended up spending the last 16 years of her life in a wheelchair.
You know, I've never asked you this before. Is there swelling when it comes to neuropathy?
There can be, because one of the basically neuropathy is caused 90% of the cases. It's affected because there's a loss of oxygen to the nerve endings, and that loss of oxygen is done in one of two ways: either because of the fact that there's something interfering with the red blood cells' ability to carry oxygen, or the number of red blood cells are diminished, or there's a problem with the capillaries, the microcirculation, where we actually exchange the oxygen and nutrients from the bloodstream to the cells themselves. And if there's a breakdown in the capillaries, what can end up happening is that we may not be able to get everything into the tissues, that the capillaries themselves actually break down, and fluid can build, and we can end up with edema. And so it's not uncommon that people will notice swelling, but a lot of times they'll just feel like their feet are swollen, and it's due to the fact that the nerve endings have receded deeper into the tissue, so there's more tissue between the end of the nerve and the actual skin, and so it gives you the illusion or the sensation that your feet are swollen, but in all actuality they're not. It's just because of the fact the nerve is receded deeper into the tissue.
So when we hear about people falling in the bathtub or in the shower, because I know it has a lot to do with balance, do you think some of these falls are from neuropathy?
I would say the vast majority, in all actuality. The thing that ends up happening is, as I said, those nerves recede deeper into the tissue, so they're not down at the sole of the foot. So people describe it that they feel like they're walking on a sponge or a piece of cardboard. So they become very dependent on their depth perception. And so you close your eyes to wash your hair, and they rely on knowing where their body is in relation to their feet. Well, they're not getting that act of proprioception is diminished now. And so, yes, that's when they can stumble and fall. And so basically one of the first things that I tell people with neuropathy is to make sure that in the shower that they actually do get a stool that they can sit on. Make sure they have night lights on in their house during the night when they get up to go to the bathroom. Get rid of throw rugs, just due to the fact that they're going to find that they don't pick their feet up like they used to, even though they may think they are. And so these are the best things that they can possibly do, because you don't want to risk a fall. That the likelihood of someone falling with neuropathy is 17 times more likely they're going to fall if you have neuropathy than if you don't, in the same similar age groups.
We just got a text. God, this is amazing. Because we don't promote your show in New Mexico, but this is from Albuquerque. They want to know, it's very hard for me to get around. Can you treat neuropathy by telemedicine?
Yes.
Oh,
in fact,
okay.
Yes, we can set up. You call, we'll send out a test kit. And do it that way. That I have a month ago, I started a woman in Lewistown, Montana, because she put in neuropathy in Montana, and I'm from Montana originally, so my website popped up. And so she started with my program about 3.5 weeks ago. I spoke to her last Friday to see how she was doing. She and her husband own a bar and restaurant. She had not left her house in 4.5 months. She told me that she lives in a 2-story house, that she would not go up the stairs in her house unless her husband was following her, so that in case she lost her balance, or come down the stairs, have the husband lead. And like I said, she hadn't left the house in 4.5 months. When I talked to her on Friday, she told me that they had some sort of a basically a party, private party at one of her restaurants, and that she had actually gone out and bussed tables for 2.5 hours, and that she now walked down the stairs without having to have her husband following her. And that was basically in a 3.5 week period of time that we've accomplished that. So
amazing.
This is why I'm still doing this, is that I get these stories every day. This is people are told that nothing can be done for neuropathy, and that is just blatantly a lie. And I go home very satisfied every night. I just wish
I
that
want
we get more people to understand that there is actually something that can be done for neuropathy, and that what they're being told is not necessarily the truth.
Well, I got to do this. You're pretty humble. I don't know if you'll do it, but tell people what your success rate is, which I'm blown away by.
Well, my success rate is due to the fact that I've been doing this for 17 years. So I have figured out who I can and who I cannot help. And so I do not, I'm pretty good at screening who I'm going to be able to help. Technology has advanced dramatically, which has helped that. And so in the last coming up on 5.5 years, literally we are 98% of my patients have gotten at least a 65% reduction in their symptoms. 50% of my patients have basically lived completely neuropathy free off of all their medications, and continue to do that because the treatment is actually something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life to some degree. And so they can maintain that forever.
This is from Marcus. He wants to know, he said, great show. I cannot believe I found this show. What's the difference between neuropathy in your hands and maybe carpal tunnel syndrome? Can you explain what the difference is in the feeling?
Okay. In the sensation initially, it may not be a whole heck of a lot. There may be with carpal tunnel, they might have more of a problem with actual motion, and being able to actually do things with their hands. Whereas with neuropathy, we're just looking primarily at its in the early stages is changes in sensation. Both of them can cause some numbness and tingling. The thing is with carpal tunnel, it's more, a lot of times it's positional. So you may be able at times to get your hand in a certain position and take the pressure off the nerve, and it'll relieve it to some degree. Whereas with neuropathy, that's not necessarily going to be the case, that it's not going to be positional from that aspect. But the two of them can actually mimic each other. That the thing is that with carpal tunnel, it's more of a positional, because what we're actually looking at is pressure on the nerves as they go through the wrist. That we have 8 bones in the wrist called carpals. They're all uniquely shaped, and so they don't necessarily all look like they should fit together. And so there's a band that holds them together. And sometimes that band becomes damaged. And so the bones actually move a little bit, and they'll put pressure on the nerves as they're going through that tunnel. And there's 3 primary nerves that we have that go down into the hand, that the radial, the medial, and the ulnar nerves. And it can put pressure on those. And if that's the case, that is carpal tunnel. And doing a release, taking the pressure off those nerves, relieves that completely. Whereas neuropathy, we're dealing with just primarily a change in the sensory nerves. It's not positional because it's actually affecting the nerves actually in the hand itself, not in the wrist. And so it's not, a position's not going to really have much of an effect on it from that aspect. And so it's kind of dealing with whether or not there's an actual loss of the actual sensations and testing from that aspect. And so generally, we don't have a great loss of sensation with carpal tunnel. If I were to put something cold on your finger or sharp, you're still going to feel that. Whereas with neuropathy, you might not.
Kyle in Mesa wants to know, what makes for a good qualified patient when you're treating neuropathy?
Someone that there's 3 factors we're looking at. We need to have somebody that's actually willing to do the work. As I said, my treatments are actually done at home. And so if you're looking for a quick fix, this isn't it. This actually takes some dedication. Yes, I used an example of somebody that in 3.5 weeks got some phenomenal results. We get results within 3.5 weeks, generally not that good. Okay. It's enough to give them know that they're getting better, but it's not you're not going to jump up and all of a sudden start going back to work if you hadn't been able to do it for 4 months. I mean, that's not typical. But we'll use a diabetic, for example, somebody that's got their diabetes relatively under control. And what I mean by that is somebody that's got an A1C that's below 8. The A1C measures how much sugar is attached to the red blood cell. And basically that number is actually the percentage of receptor sites taken up with sugar where oxygen should be. So somebody that has an A1C above 8, we're getting that percentage of loss of oxygen on the red blood cell is so high that what I do isn't going to, you're basically, that loss of oxygen on the red blood cell is going to destroy the nerves faster than what I can do to try to negate that process. There's a compound in our body called nitric oxide that is a naturally occurring substance, but as we get older, our body doesn't produce as much of it. Some people have an enzyme that breaks that down very rapidly. And if that's the case, some of those people I will not be able to help. We do test for their nitric oxide levels in the office. We make sure that they actually can produce it before I accept them for a patient. Those are some of the parameters. Some people, their neuropathy has gotten to the point where they have 100% loss in their calves and in their feet. And at that point, we may not be able to do a whole heck of a lot to offset that because it's just progressed to a point where there's really past the point of no return.
We're getting questions in. 2, 3 people want to know, can you help someone in other states? You kind of said you can. One of them says, my mother lives in New York and she's had no luck with anybody treating her neuropathy. Can you help her?
Possibly. But again,
they need to call you first or go
they need
to
to call
website.
And we need to do, and I need to send out a test kit. I need to test, and we need to go through this and go over their history. That for me to randomly tell you, yes, I'm going to help you with your neuropathy, I'm no better than anybody else. There's no way be like trying to remember that character on Johnny Carson show that would hold up the envelope and be able to tell what was in it. But that's not me.
McMahon.
So
Ed McMahon. Norma wants to know, can it disrupt your sleep?
Yes. Actually, that's one of the first things that generally happens. 68%. I'm getting more statistics, and I'm old, so I'm just learning about all the things that AI can actually look up on the internet for you that I had to search through myself. So I'm doing putting together a new presentation that I do lectures in various communities. And 68% of neuropathy sufferers, that's one of the first things that they're actually going to notice is that their sleep becomes disrupted, either in the very beginning, which causes them so that they can't go to sleep as easily, or will wake them up generally around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. What about pharmaceutical medications? What are your feelings on that?
Well, what they're designed to do is mask it, the sensations. They don't do anything to stop it. Neuropathy is actually a progressive disease. And so what ends up happening is over time, they just end up giving you more and more medications and trying to mask it from that aspect. And the side effects of the medications can be quite severe because it can cause drowsiness and kind of a best example is that here probably 10 years ago, I was doing a talk in East Mesa, and one of the individuals at the talk, I could tell, was at the maximum dosage of gabapentin because as soon as he sat down, he went to sleep. He didn't hear a thing that I said, but his wife did. And and when he came into the office, he was taking 3,600 milligrams of gabapentin, which is the maximum dose you can do. And you basically, it kind of makes basically a zombie. and working from that aspect. And recent study that came out about 3 months ago showed that people that are been on gabapentin for an extended period of time are more likely to start to have dementia and dementia-like symptoms.
Wow. How do they get a hold of you? Is it through your website or call directly to the office?
You can do it through the website. You can direct call the office. My office number is 480-556-1358. That phone is answered from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. My website is www.isneuropathycurable.com. And there's ways to link on that also to get through to me. And so, yeah, those are the ways, basically the best ways to get a hold of me. My email is drsarts at azneuropathycenter.com.
That has got to be the greatest website address, Dr. Sarts. That is really, I mean, that says it all, is neuropathycurables.com.
And the answer to that is no, but it is treatable.
Well, listen, we are so lucky to have you. You'll be back again with us next month. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Dr. Sars. And I want to tell you, by all the emails and texts we're getting, people love your show. We just want to thank you.
Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving yourself, Steve. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
Dr. Sars.
Take care.
For sure. That's Dr. Patrick Sars. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.